Welcome to episode 44 of your CYS Plus Prepcast. In this episode, we explore two major cybersecurity threats that require attention, awareness, and action from every analyst: insider threats and supply chain risks. While they are very different in origin, both represent complex challenges that are difficult to detect and even harder to prevent without the right strategy. Insider threats originate from people inside the organization, while supply chain risks stem from external dependencies. Each can cause devastating consequences, from data loss and operational disruption to reputational damage and compliance failures. Analysts must be able to detect subtle indicators, analyze behavioral patterns, and coordinate with multiple departments to address these risks effectively. Whether you are preparing for the CYSA Plus certification or responding to threats in a real-world environment, mastering these two areas is essential to building a resilient cybersecurity program. Let us begin by defining insider threats. Insider threats are risks created by individuals who have authorized access to systems or data within an organization. These individuals can include full-time employees, contractors, consultants, or even long-term vendors who have been granted trusted access to perform their duties. What sets insider threats apart is that the attacker already has access and does not need to break in from the outside. This makes detection more difficult and the consequences more severe if not addressed early. Insider threats can be difficult to anticipate, but identifying their patterns and motivations is key to early intervention. There are two primary categories of insider threats. The first type involves intentional insiders who knowingly take harmful actions for personal gain, revenge, ideology, or other malicious motives. These individuals deliberately bypass security measures or exploit access privileges to steal data, damage systems, or leak confidential information. The second type includes unintentional insiders who cause harm through ignorance, carelessness, or lack of training. Both types are dangerous and require a layered detection and response strategy to manage effectively. Security teams must treat unintentional mistakes with the same urgency as malicious actions because the outcomes can be equally damaging. For intentional insider threats, understanding motivation is essential. Analysts must be aware of behavioral indicators that may precede a security incident. These can include sudden changes in work hours, attempts to access systems beyond normal responsibilities, or unusual data access patterns. Other red flags include expressions of dissatisfaction, unexplained wealth, or requests to bypass standard processes. When these indicators are present, analysts must work with human resources, legal counsel, and management to assess risk and determine the appropriate response. Quick and discreet action is often necessary to prevent further damage. In contrast, unintentional insiders often become threats through errors. This may include clicking on phishing links, using weak passwords, misplacing sensitive documents, or violating security policies by accident. Analysts must support these users by implementing layered controls and offering continuous security training. For example, phishing simulations and access audits help reduce the likelihood of mistakes. When an error occurs, it is important to address the incident while also understanding the root cause to prevent it from happening again. User and entity behavior analytics plays a significant role in detecting insider threats. These systems establish baselines of expected activity for each user and monitor for deviations. For instance, a user who typically accesses only financial databases may raise an alert if they suddenly attempt to access product design documents or human resources data. UEBA solutions use machine learning algorithms to identify such anomalies and help analysts prioritize alerts. Behavior-based detection is especially effective for spotting both intentional and unintentional insider threats without relying solely on rule-based systems. Access controls are a frontline defense against insider threats. Implementing the principle of least privilege ensures that users can only access what they need to perform their jobs. This reduces the risk of accidental exposure and limits the damage an intentional actor can cause. Continuous monitoring of privileged accounts is also critical. Privileged users have broad access, and any abnormal activity, such as changing configurations or transferring large amounts of data, should trigger alerts and be investigated thoroughly. When a potential insider threat is detected, analysts must follow incident response procedures designed specifically for this type of event. Immediate steps may include account suspension, system isolation, and detailed log review. If there is evidence of malicious intent, a formal investigation should be launched. This often involves working with human resources, legal departments, and management to determine intent, scope, and appropriate action. Documentation is essential throughout this process to support possible legal proceedings or disciplinary measures. Effective communication among departments plays a key role in managing insider threats. Security teams must coordinate with HR, legal, IT, and executive leadership to ensure that each action is lawful, timely, and aligned with organizational policies. Clear protocols for information sharing and escalation help contain incidents quickly. This collaboration ensures that no single team is making isolated decisions and that the organization speaks with one voice in sensitive situations. Insider threat programs must strike a balance between strong security controls and a supportive organizational culture. Overly aggressive monitoring can lead to distrust, while insufficient safeguards increase vulnerability. The goal is to foster a culture of security where employees understand the importance of responsible behavior, feel empowered to report concerns, and trust that privacy and fairness are respected. Regular communication, training, and transparent policies contribute to a proactive and healthy security environment. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Supply chain risks represent a growing and complex challenge for cybersecurity analysts. These threats originate from third-party vendors, service providers, software suppliers, or hardware manufacturers that have some form of access to the organization's infrastructure. Whether that access is direct through account credentials and network connections, or indirect through dependencies and embedded software, attackers often exploit the trust placed in third parties to compromise their actual target. Detecting and mitigating these risks requires a proactive and strategic approach that spans procurement, IT operations, security engineering, and compliance teams. Supply chain attacks often begin by compromising a third party with weaker security controls. A well-known example includes injecting malicious code into software updates or development tools. These poisoned updates are then delivered to legitimate customers who unwittingly install the compromised software. Because the attack leverages a trusted vendor relationship, the malicious payload is less likely to trigger immediate suspicion. Analysts must be vigilant in monitoring for signs of tampered updates or anomalous behavior following vendor-delivered patches or system changes. Trust between an organization and its third-party providers can be a double-edged sword. While operational partnerships are necessary, they can obscure visibility and limit detection capabilities. Analysts must implement comprehensive vendor assessment and review processes before granting access to critical systems. These assessments should evaluate the vendor's cybersecurity policies, their incident response preparedness, and their compliance with regulatory frameworks. Ongoing risk reviews are necessary to ensure that vendors continue to meet expectations as their services evolve. Strong vendor risk management includes both contractual and technical controls. Contracts should require vendors to adhere to specific security standards, conduct regular vulnerability assessments, and promptly report any security incidents that may impact their customers. Analysts work with procurement and legal teams to ensure these requirements are built into service agreements. Technically, analysts can limit vendor access by using network segmentation, monitoring third-party activities, and enforcing least privilege principles across all connected services. Threat intelligence plays a key role in managing supply chain risk. Analysts use threat feeds and monitoring tools to stay informed about new vulnerabilities in third-party software, ongoing campaigns targeting specific sectors, and indicators of compromise linked to known supply chain attacks. When intelligence reveals that a vendor has been breached or their software has been compromised, organizations can take immediate action to block traffic, isolate systems, or delay updates until further validation is completed. Integrating security into the software development lifecycle is essential to reduce risks introduced by software vendors and internal development teams. Analysts advocate for secure coding practices, static code analysis, vulnerability scanning, and peer code reviews. These controls are not only used for internal projects but also as benchmarks for evaluating the security practices of software vendors, and secure development practices reduce the likelihood that malicious or vulnerable code will be delivered through routine software updates. Vendor-supplied software, firmware, and patches must be treated with scrutiny. Analysts validate digital signatures to ensure authenticity, check file integrity using hash comparisons, and verify that updates originate from trusted servers. These verification steps are crucial to preventing the installation of altered or malicious updates. When possible, updates should be tested in controlled environments before deployment across production systems, particularly in critical or sensitive environments. To further reduce dependency on any single vendor, organizations can implement supply chain diversification strategies. This might include using multiple suppliers for key services, developing internal alternatives for essential functions, or establishing relationships with secondary providers that can be activated in case of a primary vendor breach. Reducing reliance on a single source improves resilience and gives organizations more options when responding to incidents involving third parties. Analysts collaborate closely with procurement, vendor management, and legal teams to define expectations and enforce accountability. Contracts should specify what actions vendors must take in the event of a security incident, including notification timeframes, investigation cooperation, and remediation support. When vendors fail to meet these expectations, organizations can respond with contractual penalties, vendor replacement, or revised access controls. Finally, continuous improvement is critical to defending against evolving supply chain threats. Lessons learned from prior incidents must be documented and used to refine policies, improve detection, and adjust vendor review procedures. Risk assessments should be updated regularly, and vendor security practices should be evaluated annually at a minimum. By turning each experience into an opportunity for refinement, organizations enhance their ability to respond quickly and reduce long-term exposure. To summarize episode 44, insider threats and supply chain risks both present subtle, highly impactful challenges that require vigilance, coordination, and technical expertise. Insider threats must be addressed through behavior monitoring, least privileged access, and rapid incident response. Supply chain risks require robust vendor assessments, ongoing monitoring, and a proactive approach to managing third-party relationships. Mastering these topics prepares analysts to prevent disruptions, secure complex ecosystems, and contribute meaningfully to organizational security strategies. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.